Well, this is Walter Kirkland. Good evening. This is Walter Kirkland with the 100 Black Men of America. We send our greetings to you. On behalf of the 100 Black Men of America, we say thank you. Thank you for your support. Today, we've assembled an amazing panel to have discussions about Black health. As you know, with the advent of COVID, we've had a lot of casualties. We at the 100 Black Men of America decided to take an initiative with the help of Dr. Danner and some to make a difference in Black America. So we say greetings to you. All right, why don't we go round robin in terms of what's happening today? I'd like to kick it off with our esteemed Dr. Danner. Dr. Danner, can you say an introduction, please?
Yes, good evening, 100, and good evening, America. My name is Dr. Omar Danner. I'm a professor of surgery and surgical critical care at the Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm the chair for our Healthcare 2.0 initiative and COVID-19 Pandemic Action Group for the 100 Black Men of America. This is an important and incredible day in the history of America. And although we're going through a lot, united we stand, and this is going to be a time where we work together to move forward. So we pray for America. But God bless you all, and God bless America. And thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Dr. Danner, for your leadership. You're a pretty amazing dude, man. I appreciate you, brother. James.
Yes.
Hello, James. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good evening. And thank God it's 2021. My name is James Stewart. I'm the Health and Wellness Director for the 100 Black Men of Tulsa. I'm also a retired manager from the hospital system of about 45 years. And I'm really happy to be here and be a part of this. I'm very proud of Dr. Omar Danner and the Health and Wellness Chair, because his vision to improve the health in America through his Healthcare 2.0 program, I think is going to change a lot of things for people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hey, Donna Jones, how are you? Say hello, Donna.
Be here.
Okay.
And I'm Donna Jones, and I am the health coach for Fit for Us. I am also the founder and owner, and I'm so excited to be amongst this great panelist of people. And thank you so much, Dr. Danner. And thank you, Walter. Thank you so much. We're ready to kick off Health 2.0.
All right. Thank you, Donna. We appreciate you. Body's made the move, right, Donna? All right. Kalunda Anderson, say hello, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kalunda Anderson. I'm in the accounting and finance profession, but I'll tell you one thing. The one thing that COVID has taught me through the last 9 months is fitness is my passion. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about my journey. As we hear about all the great things that are being discussed today, it's really about internalizing that and making that a part of your life. So thank you for being a part of this great panel.
Thank you, Cal. So this is part two of the Healthcare 2.0 initiative, the role of fitness, nutrition, immune optimization in combating COVID-19. You say, why are we doing this? As we said earlier, we're trying to create this positivity with health and wellness. We're trying to slow down COVID-19. And how do you find a way to get fitness? How do you build your immune system? So this is going to give us a great transition. Dr. Danner, can you give us a little overview of perspectives on that, please?
Yes, Walter. And again, I want to thank everyone who took time out of the busy schedule to join us this evening. Healthcare 2.0 is a very exciting initiative in which we hope to be able to reset the health of particularly Black people and brown people in America, but all America. Tonight, what we want to do is we want to talk about COVID-19. We know we're in the midst of a pandemic, and we're in the midst of the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine program. So we want to give you a critique and update on that, as well as discuss fitness and target heart rate, as well as the role of physical exercise in improving general health. We're going to review nutrition, calorie balancing, and we're going to explain the importance of immune optimization, supplementation, and persistent monitoring in combating this COVID-19 pandemic. We know that COVID-19 has taken a heavy toll on not only the people in the United States, but people throughout the world. Since our initial inaugural virtual town hall on November 11th, and this is from November 9th, there were 50 million people worldwide who had been infected and 1.25 million who had actually succumbed to this viral illness. Since that time, as of yesterday, there are now over 86.1 million people who have been infected and 1.86 million people who have died worldwide. On a national basis, there was less than 10 million people who had been infected and less than 240 people who had actually died from this virus. Currently, as of late yesterday evening, we're approaching 21,000 people who have been infected and over 355,000 people who have died and transitioned due to this deadly illness and virus. So we know that it's taken a heavy toll and the numbers are going up state by state on a regular basis. However, the pharmaceutical industry, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, Health and Human Services, and the CDC, among other academic institutions, have been working very hard to figure out solutions to help us combat this, particularly in the form of vaccines. I know there's a lot of interest in this subject. Currently in the United States, there are 6 or 7 candidate vaccines that are either now approved or close to the end of a phase 3 trial. There's the Pfizer vaccine, which is an mRNA vaccine that's being currently administered. There's the Moderna vaccine, which is also an mRNA vaccine based on the spike protein on the coronavirus called COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. AstraZeneca is also in phase 3 trials and will have a recombinant viral vector available soon, as well as Janssen. Novavax is also a protein subunit vaccine that is currently being trialed in institutions throughout the country, as well as the vaccine from Sanofi. In December of this past year, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices met, and the FDA met with them on the 10th and granted approval for the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine and subsequently the Moderna mRNA vaccine under emergency use authorization. Since the vaccine's approval, the advisory committee has recommended that healthcare workers and elderly patients in long-term care facilities, as well as those with pre-existing medical conditions, receive the initial doses. Nationally, a little over 1.3% of the U.S. population has received doses of the vaccine. However, the rollout of the vaccine for COVID-19 has been a little slow. We suspect a lack of a clear plan regarding the national distribution strategy, as well as the lack of necessary funds to execute that strategy, have played a role. As of yesterday, approximately 4.84 million shots, which is less than 25% of the available vaccine doses, have been administered since the vaccine has been made available in the U.S., instead of the 20 million shots initially projected before the end of last year, according to the CDC. Nationally, this means that 70% of the vaccines remain unused and are going idle, according to the CDC. South Dakota and I think North Dakota right now, as far as states, are leading in the administration of the vaccine at 65%, but some states are down in the range less than 10%. So there's a lot of effort and money's being invested, even in the last round of funding for the COVID supplement. And about $9 billion has been allotted to this in this latest federal stimulus package. There's about $2.5 million that's still floating around out there to support the delivery of these vaccines. So there's a huge investment to get these vaccines rolled out properly under the operation name Operation Warp Speed, under the guise of Health and Human Services and the federal government. So for more information for your state, we really want to have you to go to our website. The National COVID Resiliency Network is a HHS, Office of Minority Health funded initiative and entity that provides information for people around the country related to COVID-19. For more information, please visit https ncrn-msm.edu and click on resources to get COVID-19 data for your state. We know that we're still in the middle of a crisis, and it's going to take a long time for us to get through this. But as we band together and focus on it, just like in the 60s when President Kennedy spoke about us going to the moon, basically we were able to achieve because we worked together. According to our beliefs, so shall it be done unto us. And we believe that we're going to get through this pandemic. But what we want to talk to you this evening about is, in addition to vaccines, in addition to wearing masks and practicing good hand hygiene, social distancing and social isolation and quarantining, what are other things that you can do individually right now to help build your health and combat this COVID-19, this deadly pathogen? Well, one of the things that can be done is physical activity. What we know is people with certain pre-existing medical conditions have a slightly increased risk of having a bad outcome related to this virus. What I'm here to tell you tonight, along with my esteemed panelists, is that physical activity, exercise, is important, not only for your general health, but for your resiliency, for your peace of mind. So what I want to initially do is talk about the health conditions associated with physical inactivity, such as some cancers, heart disease. In fact, in 1992, physical inactivity became a major risk factor for heart disease, stroke, obesity, hypertension, atherosclerosis, back pain, osteoporosis, diabetes, and even chronic lung disease. There are, again, different types of exercise. So when we say exercise, one size doesn't fit all. So I want to basically expand your knowledge and understanding of the different types of varieties of exercise, and then help you understand, as it relates to your cardiovascular health, particularly, which one is more beneficial based on the science and data. There are three types of exercise that people engage in. There's aerobic or cardiovascular training, there's muscle strengthening, which is also called resistance training, and then there's flexibility training. Aerobic exercise increases your heart rate, it uses oxygen, and it helps to burn fat and calorie stores. This, when you're burning enough calorie stores, this is a good way, and this is the reason that aerobic exercise is supported if somebody is attempting to burn fat and lose weight. Muscle strengthening or resistance training is important for increasing your endurance, building your muscle mass. It helps to tone muscles, and it helps to prevent the breakdown of muscles and tissues because of weakness and leading to things like back problems. In addition, flexibility training should be incorporated into either resistance and aerobic exercise activities. This decreases tension, it helps to increase flexibility, and it helps to decrease your muscle soreness, and this should be incorporated into your overall program. Dr. Bill Haskell, a noted exercise physiologist, once said that physical activity is a wonder drug. A 20-minute walk will lower your blood pressure, clear excess sugar, fat, cholesterol, stress chemicals from your body and your bloodstream. Those benefits will last for the next 24 to 36 hours. This is why once you exercise in whether it's a good walk or swim or riding the bike, you feel better even into the next day. So what are some of the benefits of exercise? It increases your energy level, increases your energy output. It decreases stress, anxiety, depression. It helps to improve sleep. It helps to enhance your self-esteem, improve your strength, your stamina, your flexibility, even your appearance and sense of control. It helps also to prevent the loss of muscle mass during weight loss. Losing weight by starvation and dieting alone usually results in muscle mass loss. And when you finish, it actually decreases your metabolism. This actually increases your chance of regaining weight if you do not actually exercise while you're in an effective weight loss and health improvement program. It also helps to decrease your risk of heart disease by increasing your good cholesterol. There's two types of cholesterol. There's bad cholesterol, LDL, and then there's good cholesterol called HDL, or high density lipoprotein. High density lipoprotein is improved or increased in serum numbers through aerobic exercise, versus LDL is improved by dietary changes and modification, including decreased fat intake and decreased simple sugar intake. When you do these things, it decreases basically your risk of different types of cancer. It reduces your risk of colon cancer. It helps control your blood pressure, so it helps control hypertension. It helps control your blood sugar and improve your diabetes, as well as improves your bone density. So the question is, well, what type of exercise is best? Experts recommend aerobic exercise to strengthen the cardiovascular system, which is your heart and your blood vessels. Aerobic exercise means the body uses oxygen and fat stores to produce the energy needed for the activity. So, well, what are some types of aerobic exercise that you can do and do right now? Brisk walking, climbing stairs instead of taking the elevator or escalator, jogging, running, cycling, swimming, rowing. The idea is to just get started and move. However, you have to forget this notion that no pain, no gain attitude. You can hurt yourself. Proper exercise should not cause severe pain. And Donna, Ms. Jones will talk about this in a few minutes, but what we're meaning is, or what we're saying is, you should choose activities that you enjoy and can easily fit into your daily activity. It's been noted that you're much more likely to stick with an exercise plan if it is something you enjoy doing. So find an exercise you like, find your exercise buddy or partner, and in truth, it does not matter so much what the activity is, as long as you are moving with some degree of vigor. Well, a lot of people say, well, how much vigor, Dr. Danner? That's a great question. And so one way of doing this, or one way of thinking about it, is think fit to ensure the best cardiovascular results. FIT is an acronym. It stands for frequency, intensity, and time. So in general, exercising 3 to 5 times per week. Intensity, do aerobic exercise that raises your heart rate into the range of your target heart rate, which we'll discuss in a second. And then a general time, you should maintain an elevated heart rate for at least 20 minutes. So that's why people generally recommend 30 to 60 minutes of exercise, the first 10 minutes to get your heart rate up into the target range. And the remaining time is to keep it in the target range. Well, how do you calculate this target heart rate to know if you're in the range? Well, it depends on your age. So the formula for target heart rate is 220 minus your age. Did you hear me? 220 minus your age. If I were 40 or 50, that would be 220 minus 40 or 50. So that would be 180 or 170. And then you multiply it by a correction factor of 55% or 0.55 to 0.85, with the higher range being a more vigorous exercise program and the lower range being more kind of moderate. But somewhere in that 55 to 85% of your target heart rate, which is, again, your maximum heart rate is your target, is your 220 minus your age. So 220 times the maximum heart rate, 55% to 85% times your maximum heart rate is your target heart rate. So when you do this, this will allow you to burn energy, burn calories, and actually calorie balance. The health benefits achieved if you do this on a consistent basis are enormous if you expend somewhere in the range of 500 to 2,000 calories per week. So that being said, I'm a doctor, I'm a bariatric surgeon, as well as a trauma surgeon and critical care specialist. But what we want to do is hear about this from a real specialist. Ms. Donna Jones, can you actually talk to them a little bit about
Right.
nutrition?
And before you go, Donna, this is Walter, because we need to keep the engagement going. I have a pressing question, and I know this is off script, but I think we need this. Stephanie, why do we have an echo here? What efforts would you suggest to get everyone to accept the vaccine, Dr. Danner? We talk about how we need to build our immune system. Can you respond to that? Why should everybody take the vaccine?
Well, that is a great question, Walter and Ms. McKenzie. And the answer to that question is because you want to decrease your risk. If you contract the virus, the chance of dying or getting very sick is somewhere 10 to 20%. In the studies in which people have been vaccinated, the people who got the vaccine had a 95% reduction in the likelihood of getting this virus, which is leading to increased morbidity and mortality, particularly as it relates to African Americans and other vulnerable population, underrepresented groups. So there's no perfect solution. There's nothing that's without risk, but there is a very high risk for doing nothing. Inaction actually costs. So when you take this vaccine, it doesn't mean that you don't still have to practice the same safety precautions,
right,
washing your hands and wearing a mask. But what it does do is decreases the risk of you contracting not just the virus, but the disease, getting sick, and then also potentially passing it to someone else. So the ultimate goal is to try to break this pandemic by preventing transmission in the society that we live. And so not only are you doing it for yourself, you're doing it for those that you love. And hopefully that answers and addresses your questions. But so far, it has been proven to be safe. And there have been a paucity of severe reactions, but there have been about 10 that I know of. There's been 1 or 2 deaths related to, reactions that are not related to the vaccine, but probably the way they're reconstituted. But we don't know that right now. We're still learning. And we think it is the right thing to do based on the best of medical science.
I'm going to take one more as a follow-up. Stephanie had another question. Anyone on the panel wants to respond. What's your thoughts about taking extra vitamins such as black seed oil and olive leaf? Who wants to respond to that? Anyone other panelists?
Cal.
Go ahead, Cal.
To that, my recommendation is do your research on anything that anybody suggests. I've heard about black seed oil. I've never taken it personally. There's other supplements that I've taken. My recommendation is Google is an amazing thing when it comes to research. Do your research and choose something that's right for you. And also make sure that if it's something that has a lot of caffeine or that'll mess with your heart rate, maybe like a pre-workout, that you want to run that by your doctor just to be safe.
Fair enough. Any other comments, Dr. Danner?
Well, no, you hit the main thing that is very important, that you do your research and you talk to your healthcare provider. These things can interact with other medications. And so you really have to have some kind of guidance when you do this. We are going to talk a little bit about immune enhancement and modulation using natural approaches toward the end. So we'll come back and circle back to this. But to keep us on schedule, again, specifically those agents, don't know a lot about them. We'll have to look them up. But I am aware of them. And in general, most things are healthy, but everything has some risk. You have to do your research, as Mr. Anderson said.
Well, Stephanie, hopefully that answered your question, Stephanie. So let's go to Donna. Donna, let's kick you off, Donna.
Hi, everyone. And I think Stephanie is one of my clients, so that's good to see that she have questions. I'm so happy and again honored to be here, Dr. Danner and the entire team. Just healthcare 2.0. We're so excited about it. We're so excited, Dr. Danner, that you're just so passionate about health and wellness and wanting to see all of us healthy. This is great. This is important. It's not only for my family, your family, but it's for all of us. And so while we are dealing with COVID and most people feel like now that they're sheltered, this is a time that we need to not sit at home and just eat unhealthy thing and not being active. It is so important, like Dr. Dana mentioned, gave some examples about exercise and just stepping outside of your own home, just doing some exercise in your own neighborhood. Get a counterpartner, a buddy partner was also mentioned as well, that if you need that. Or one thing that I would say to you and say to everyone is we've got to change our mind. You change the mind, you can change the body. It's just so important. We got to understand that mind over the matter. And that is, if we continue to doing the same thing, we're going to continue getting the same results. So exercising and just eating healthy together, it could boost the body's ability to fight off diseases. And that's what we want. It's okay to look good on the outside, but the internal side, the vital organs is so important. Food is medicine. And so we have to understand that, the body, our temple, our body, this is, a gift from God. So we want to take care of our bodies. And so one of the things that I, as a health coach and been teaching exercise and fitness for over 20 years and just passionate about it, I know that I'm walking in my divine purpose. And I'm so thankful for this entire team because we're working together. It's about everyone. And so just tonight, whatever questions that you have for any one of us, the time period that we have, we are so honored that you're on and we can answer, questions. We teach now virtual classes right in your home, exercise, and you could, schedule, do your own, set up yourself. Even if you do 20 jumping jacks, even, and if anything, just something, you can walk up and down your stairwells, whatever, there's exercise, but let's just sit at home and eat. We have to create a style where we can start eating healthy, clean eating. It's so important. Boost our metabolism and keep us going. And food, again, is medicine. We can do it. And together, we can do it effectively. So I'm just, again, so honored and excited to be here. Donna Jones and Fit for Us organization. I've been working with so many teams. I have a group of trainers that I work with as well. And we're passionate about health and fitness. So thank you again, Walter. And thank you for having me here, Dr. Dana.
Donna, real quick, I got a question I got to ask you. Is there an age where it's too late to start the training?
Never. Thank you. That's a great question. I'm originally from South Carolina. My 4-year-old grandniece, my sister, she videotapes her. She's always exercising. She loves it. And that's where we start, Walter. We start at the foundation. Yeah. It's so funny to see our children, they're getting into it. They're having fun with it. So awesome questions. And when you're exercising, get the family involved. Especially men, we need you. Cardio, we need you exercising. The family, eat together, work out together. That's what this is all about.
That's awesome. All right. Back to you, Dr. Danner. I think you're muted, Dr. Danner. Dr. Danner, you're muted.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
Walter, again, I want to thank Donna for those powerful words. And, it's important that, we really take these things to heart. One of my favorite sayings, I used to think that knowledge was power. And what I learned is that's not really true. Application of knowledge is power. It's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. So applying those important principles becomes critical. But in addition to exercising and getting your body in good shape, it's also critical that you understand food and nutrition. Having the right mixture of food at the proper time is important for your overall health and well-being. In fact, our body needs over 45 nutrients every day, and these nutrients are vital for our, overall general health. When we don't consume nutrients in the right quantities, in the right proportions, our bodies start to show different symptoms due to the imbalance and manifest disease. A lot of people don't think about it like this, but dis-ease means out of ease, out of order. It puts our body out of sync. Therefore, we must eat food with the proper balance of nutrients and calories for our optimal function, optimal weight, and optimal health, as well as for our overall survival. Although a lot of people have been dying and getting ill from COVID-19 and having conditions such as diabetes or hypertension or even weight gain related issues, obesity or heart disease, most people are not dying from, say, for instance, a stroke or hypertensive crisis. They're dying from hypotension. So these diseases are risk markers, but they're manifestations of nutritional imbalance and malnutrition or improper nutrition over time. So remember, we have to shift our mindset, shift our thinking, and no longer should we live to eat, but we learn to eat to live. And so we do this by learning about the different nutrients and their role in the body. And so there are, in fact, 6 major classes of nutrients divided into 2 subclasses. The 2 major subclasses we call macronutrients, and then the other is micronutrients. Macronutrients are foods or nutrients that have calories associated with it, carbohydrates and fats. And micronutrients are things that don't have calories associated with it, such as vitamins, and we'll talk about this a little later. But the macronutrients, such as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, actually have energy associated with them. The body's cells need these macronutrients and micronutrients, such as vitamins, minerals, and yes, water. Water is actually a very important nutrient. And in fact, for men, 55 to 60% of our body is made of water. And for women, 50 to 55% of the body is actually made of water. And this is important for the cellular function to take place. The body's cells need both of these subclasses of nutrients in the right balance and quantities to help carry out its routine bodily functions and processes, including enzymatic reactions. So to break this down into simple terms, carbohydrates are the body's primary fuel source. A lot of people say, well, should I eat carbohydrates, fats, or proteins? Well, you should actually eat all of them in balance, to be honest. But the main one is carbohydrates. That's like the gas for the car. There are 2 types of carbohydrates. However, there are simple carbohydrates, which are empty calories. Those are calories in sodas, cakes, desserts, sweets. And then there are complex carbohydrates, which are things like starches and fibers. These are nutrient dense, and these are the type of carbohydrates that you should get, things in fruits and vegetables, pastas, and the like. Both types store as glycogen and or fat for later use. But the goal is to understand that you need carbohydrates as a central part of your diet. And in fact, 50 to 55% of your daily calories should be consumed as carbohydrates. As I mentioned earlier, complex carbohydrates include things as fruits and vegetables, starches such as breads, cereals, pastas, and whole grains. I personally like white bread, but things like wheat bread and some of the multi-grain bread is probably healthier and may have a higher fiber content, but you can look on the side on the nutrition label to look at the fiber content in the different types of breads as you become more conscious and aware of these things. Fiber can also be gotten or consumed from eating fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Eating vegetables with hulls and skin, salads, can actually increase your fiber in your diet. Some of the salads that have more, cheaper lettuce actually has a very low nutrient and fiber content. So choosing a variety of mixed green salad may have a higher fiber and higher nutritional content overall. But remember, when you add a lot of dressing, it adds a lot of fat, it adds a lot of calories, so you have to be cognizant of that as well. But the take-home point is that you should choose complex carbohydrates as much as possible, 1 to 2 servings of whole grain foods daily, 3 servings of non-starchy vegetables daily, 2 servings of fruits daily, preferably fresh fruit. If, say, for instance, you have an orange that is of a large enough size that a half of an orange or a grapefruit makes up a serving, a whole orange actually is considered to be 2 servings. So you have to also understand serving size. You can look this up online, go to Dr. Google, as Mr. Anderson said earlier. You can look it up on nutrition websites. But the goal is to increase your complex carbohydrates and cut down and eliminate simple sugars. For a lot of us, including myself, it's a challenge, but it's necessary to improve your health. And just remember that moderation is the key. There's no food that's necessarily good or bad. It's how we address or consume those foods that really lead to the health problems or the health success that people enjoy or don't enjoy. Another important macronutrient is protein. Proteins are the building blocks of the body, so we don't like to think of them as being consumed for calories or energy. So we generally eat proteins to maintain these building blocks for tissues such as muscles, skins, hormone production, a healthy immune system. Antibodies are made of proteins. Healing processes. The body, when it's rebuilding itself, needs proteins to do this, as well as your general growth. Proteins are made of basic building blocks called amino acids. There are 2 types of amino acids. There's essential amino acids, and then there are non-essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids are made by the body. Essential amino acids are made by plants and other sources, and we have to consume them through our diet. And if we don't, we can have a deficiency related to that particular amino acid, which can relate or result in disease. But there are, in addition to amino acids for building blocks, there are 2 types of proteins or protein foods. There are foods that we consider as complete proteins, and then there are also incomplete proteins. And complete proteins are things such as meats, eggs, fish and poultry. Incomplete proteins are mostly plant-based foods, and therefore you have to understand this, because a lot of people, eat low meat or their no meat diets, or they may be a pescatarian and eat fish and chicken, or they may be a pure vegetarian. And a lot of times people think that I'm a vegetarian, I'm going to be healthy automatically, but there's a little bit of an art to this. So learning and understanding proteins and food balancing that I'll talk about in a second, or protein balancing or complementing, is how you maintain your health if you choose to eat a healthy plant-based diet. So when certain plant foods are combined with another plant food or an animal protein, the protein becomes a more complete protein and is more useful to the body. Combining incomplete proteins to make a complete protein source is called protein complementing. And this is important. This is why a lot of people who are vegetarians may eat, say, for instance, a soy burger, or eat soy-based foods along with their plant-based foods in order to get complete nutrition. So the take-home point is that protein is important. The goal is to consume somewhere 15 to 20% of your daily caloric intake, or 60 to 70 grams in a 70 kilo person, a 70 kilogram or 150 to 160 pound person. Just understand also that plant and animal sources are good sources, particularly animals that have low fat versus high fat contents. But the best practice is to eat a variety of vegetable proteins and foods in your meal, whether you eat meat or not. But the key is balancing. And in addition to this, fats, a lot of people say, well, I don't eat any fat. Well, the problem is fat is actually important in your diet. Actually, it's necessary to process fat-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. During this pandemic, you've heard a lot about vitamin D. It is a fat-soluble vitamin, and having fat in your diet actually helps your body to absorb it from your GI tract. In addition, things like vitamin K, which is important for clotting, and vitamin E for skin health, and vitamin A, which actually cofactors with vitamin D to actually affect a lot of the immune system via the retinoid X protein. It also protects vital organs. It provides insulation and keeps us warm. It's used to make healthy cell membranes, and it actually facilitates female hormone production as well as male hormone production. They're all beta fats or cholesterols. There are, in general, 4 types of fats. Fats are generally made up of fatty acids. So they have what's called a glycerol or a sugar backbone, but then they attach these fatty acids to them, and it helps to characterize the type of fat. The 4 types of fatty acids that we'll talk about are saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and trans fats. Trans fats in general are fats that are created with reheating of food or reburning of oils. This actually is shown to be toxic and increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. Polyunsaturated fats have more than one area where there's what's called a double bond and tend to be less healthy than monounsaturated fats. So for the sake of time and sake of this discussion, saturated fats come mostly from animal sources. Exceptions to this include palm kernel, coconut oils, cocoa, which tend to be heavier and more dense. The way you can tell a saturated fat is that it is solid at room temperature. And this is important because you need to know that this is what raises your bad cholesterol or your low density lipoprotein cholesterol and increase the risk of heart disease. In addition, simple sugars, high carbohydrate loads, once you exceed the body's ability to store, can be stored as fat and ultimately built into cholesterol. There's another form of cholesterol called VLDL, very low density lipoprotein, which is small fragments of the low density lipoprotein, the low density lipoprotein cholesterol. And this is important because it can get underneath the lining of blood vessels and cause atherosclerotic disease and increase your risk of cardiovascular abnormalities or even heart attacks. Monounsaturated fats, on the other hand, tend to be healthy. They actually protect you against heart disease. They may lower your LDL cholesterol without lowering your good cholesterol. Your HDL, which I said earlier, actually is increased by increasing your exercise, particularly your aerobic exercise. You tend to recognize these because they're liquid at room temperature. So oils, like I think someone may have mentioned earlier, olive oil is important. Canola oil is another good choice. Peanut oils, for those people who are not allergic, are good choices. In the Mediterranean country, and what we call the Mediterranean diet, where consumption of monounsaturated oils or fats is high, heart disease tends to be very low compared to the rest of the westernized or civilized world. The take-home point is that fats are important too. In fact, the goal is to take in 25 to 30% of your diet as fat. So somebody says, hey, I don't eat any fat, or somebody telling someone that is not actually accurate or good information. There's some risk to this because you can develop fat deficiency diseases and disorders. But when you do take in fat, try to choose monounsaturated fats, particularly for cooking, for the majority of your fat intake. You should try to consume as low as possible, and even if you can, zero trans fats. In fact, in New York, they have outlawed it in New York and in several other states using trans fats. So try to stay away from trans fats as much as possible, and try to keep your saturated fats to less than 1 gram per serving. It's easier said than done. Fat makes steaks taste better. We know that people are going to consume. So in the end, practice moderation. Understand that moderation is the key to calorie balancing, and it starts with portion control. So taking a little bit of effort, learn what a portion size is, get plates if you have to use that to guide your portions in general. Generally 4 ounces of meat, or the palm of your hand measures what 4 ounces of meat typically looks like as 1 serving. A half a cup of peas typically is 1 serving. 2 slices of bread is considered to be 1 serving. So you have to look at that. So say, for instance, 3 Oreo cookies is 1 serving, and there are 24 in a box and you eat 24, that's 8 servings. If three cookies amounts to 100 calories and you eat 24, then that's 800 calories that you consume. Everybody's body needs a certain amount of calorie based on their metabolism. And we should try to, if we're trying to maintain our weight calorie balance, by taking in and burning off the same amount of calories. If you want to lose weight, you have to create a negative energy balance by taking in less or burning more calories in a given day than you actually consume. This is the month right of the new year, January. Well, if you're a member of the African American or the Black church or Baptist churches or Christian church, a lot of people will do what's called the Daniel fast, and they'll spend 21 days of really trying to decrease their intake and perform what amounts to non-meat and non-processed food type fast for this period to decrease this calorie intake. In addition to doing this, getting proper exercise, getting increased exercise is vital to help you in this calorie balance. But if you control the portion, this should be something you think about over the long haul. You can control the amount of calories you consume. Moderation has been known for ages. In fact, in the Bible, it says, let your moderation be known. In the days of old, the cardinal listed actually gross overeating and over drinking of beverages as one of the 7 deadly sins, gluttony. The problem with Western society and affluence is we can have access to a lot of different things that we like, a lot of different foods that we like. Overconsumption is a choice. Practicing moderation, although difficult, is something that we all can do. And by doing this, we can lose weight, we can improve our health, improve our overall longevity, because particularly as Black men, we have a 10-year shorter life expectancy than other Americans. And a lot of this is due to overconsumption, a lot of times driven by stress, the stress of just trying to make it, provide for your families, take care of yourself. And so understanding that using food as a vice has its consequences, so making better food choices are essential, in addition to taking in vitamins, which may be by eating a well-balanced meal, but sometimes we don't get enough because a lot of foods are processed. So taking in vitamins via supplementation is also something to consider. Vitamins do not contain calories. They're considered to be a micronutrient. It's required for the release of energy in the body and also for the regulation of growth and development, as well as metabolism, as well as immune health for other processes, including immunity. There are 2 types of vitamins in general. There are fat-soluble vitamins. There are water-soluble vitamins. We talked about the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, is absorbed and stored in the fatty tissue. These are essential for your healthy skin, bones, and blood. Excess amounts are not excreted by the body and can accumulate and become toxic. So, look for no more than 100% of the recommended daily allowance, unless it's something that is prescribed by a doctor for a health reason. Sometimes we have to increase the doses for specific purposes. Water-soluble vitamins are typically your B vitamins, C vitamins, biotin, pantothenic acid. These are absorbed in the body's water and they're excreted if in excess. So a lot of people try to mega dose with water-soluble vitamins, but you have to know that the body does not actually absorb them. They will, once they reach their optimal level, they will basically excrete or remove the rest of them from the body, but you can take anything in excess and actually become toxic, so you have to be aware. So, although I've said a lot, I think that it's very important to understand that proper health is equal to proper nutrition, proper fitness, and then proper coping. And I want basically to pass things over to Kalunda Anderson to talk about his health journey. Kalunda.
All right. Before we go to Kalunda, if you guys can hear me, we have a question to break up because we have to kind of get the engagement. It's real important. I have a question here. Do you recommend fat-free items or sugar-free for pre-diabetes? I'm not sure who wants to take that.
I'll take it and then I'll pass it over to Kalunda. Fat-free does not mean calorie-free. And you have to understand that fat-free usually means increased carbohydrates. So someone who, say for instance, diabetic who's eating what's fat-free is actually increasing their carbohydrate load. Carbohydrates are sugars, And basically, diabetes is a disorder or abnormality where you can't process blood sugars. So it doesn't actually truly make a difference whether it says fat-free or not. The key is moderation. Everything in moderation is important. And if, say, for instance, you're overweight and you're trying to lose weight, decreasing the amount of calories, having complex carbohydrates where you get the slow release of nutrients and right balance of fat, the right balance of protein is probably a better strategy. So what we generally recommend is increasing protein content to 20%, keeping your fats in a healthy range, using monounsaturated fats, and eating more complex carbohydrates rather than focusing on gimmicks like sugar-free, fat-free, because I'm not sure if that really makes a whole lot of difference in the long run. Yolanda?
Ron, do you have any feedback on that?
You're muted.
Kalanda, unmute yourself. There's a little button there.
I'm not unmuted.
Correct. There you go.
You can hear me. So yeah, I'll say that I have to agree with Dr. Danner and also what Donna had to say as well, just about the importance of food and obviously the importance of fitness. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my walk. My industry. I'm in finance and accounting, so I sit behind a computer all day. I might get up to use the restroom or go drink some water or some coffee, but I'm sitting down all day. So I made it a point. And I've always had this in me. I made it a point to always get my exercise in the morning, try and get some exercise in at night. What COVID kind of taught me to do, first off, is to sit down and really evaluate, my overall fitness plan, my nutrition plan, and really understand and kind of dive deep into what it means. And the very first thing I did was I identified a goal for myself. What do I want to do? Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to gain muscle? When do I want to lose weight? Maybe now's the time to lose weight and I'll gain muscle later. So the very first thing that anybody has to do is really identify the goal that they want to establish for themselves. That's number one. Number two, I think, is to understand that there are no shortcuts. You look online and you see, I see so many advertisements for, get this body in 6 months or take this pill and this will happen. None of that is real, not a one. And Donna's shaking her head. She understands that. It took me, I've been working out for 20 years. I figured that out the last 6 months. None of that is real. Your diet is number one. If you cannot overcome your diet, then the rest really doesn't matter. And that's from my opinion, based upon what I've seen in my own health and how I've kind of taken that under control since COVID. But again, mindset is important. Food is number one. The number two for me is to establish a program. If you're walking around all day, that's exercise. You count that as calories being burned. If you're sitting around and like you're an accountant and you're sitting at a desk and you're not burning any calories all day, well, that means you need to set some time to probably do a little bit more cardio versus strength training, just because you need to burn some calories. Again, it depends on your purpose. So again, you have to establish a purpose and you start moving towards that purpose. And you understand that food is very important as well as your program. Do something every day, just a little bit every day matters, and you can grow from there. Again, depending on your goal, whatever that might be, start with something. Start with a low weight. If you're weightlifting, start with a 10-minute walk, then go to 20 minutes, go to 30 minutes. Next thing you know, you'll be running marathons in no time. So coming up with a program that's doable for you, and then increasing that program as you go, as you get stronger, as you get more efficient, as your body's able to produce the energy that it needs with less oxygen, less food, that sort of thing. That's important, coming up with a program. And number one thing is stick with the program. Don't give up on your program. You can augment it, you can modify it, but stick with the program. The fruits of your labor will see itself, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. Don't look for immediate results today. That doesn't happen. Don't look for immediate results next week, but look for results. You'll start seeing results happen the more you do it. And the other thing that I'll make a recommendation to is consume media. This is when I'm working out, that's where I consume most of my media. YouTube, blogs. I read when I'm working out. I consume all of mine because I don't necessarily like being on a treadmill. I don't like necessarily, being on the bicycle. I don't like to be in the gym per se, but that's where I listen to my music. That's where I do things. So make it fun for yourself as well. It's a long-term process.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Good stuff. We have a question about flexibility. I want to digress to Donna. Donna, how important is flexibility and how often should you stretch when you're doing daily activity? You're muted. There you go.
Okay. Now? Okay, great. Flexibility is so important. We want to make sure that we are stretching out the body, the muscle, so that we don't want to be tense when we do start the exercise. And so it is important that you find a way where you can just do stretching, just reaching your arms up high, stretching down and reaching to your toes so that you could stretch out those hamstrings, especially if you're going to do what Kalanda mentioned, some of the just doing a brisk walk. You just want to make sure that sometimes we just go hard and just start working out. I see men a lot in the gym. They just go straight at it before stretching out. And the next thing you know that you're feeling cramps in your body or tense. And so, finding a way to do some stretching is so important, even if it just, if you just do less than 60 seconds or something, stretch your arms out, lean forward. Very important.
Yeah, Donna, if I can add, I'm a senior Olympian. I ran the 400 meters last year, and guess what I didn't do enough of? I didn't stretch enough. I hadn't run in 20 years, so I call myself trying to make the Senior Olympics. So lo and behold, as Cal's smiling at me, I strained my groin in the final, and if I'd had more flexibility, I probably would have placed in the top 3 rather than top 6. So the flexibility piece is critical, especially at the advanced ages, Donna, as you're nodding your head, that I really believe you should stretch 10 minutes a day. So Cal, as you're shaking your head, Cal, I do that 10 to 20 minutes every day, whether I'm doing a track workout or weightlifting workout. So for your listeners out there and viewers, flexibility is so important. Anybody else have any more comments about that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. One of the things I'm an exercise technologist, have been for years.
Oh, okay.
And we put on the Tulsa Run in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we initiated it many years ago.
Okay.
And one of the things that we found out with people who come out and run, and we'd have anywhere from 1,500 to 5,000 people out racing. Well, the people who ran into problems with were people who didn't do any stretching of the muscles, and people who all ate the wrong things in the morning. Because they all ended up either throwing up by the time they got to a point where their body got so hot that they couldn't handle it anymore. And they were also the ones that tend to go into anti-aerobic states way before they could finish the running. So yeah, stretching is very, very important.
And if I can elaborate, you have your fast twitch muscles and your slow twitch muscles. So Donna can elaborate on this, how they're interconnected. So they actually get tight. You want to pull them apart to keep them flexible, because if you don't, that's where the contractions occur and the strains, right, Cal?
Absolutely, that's correct.
Yeah. So why don't we move on, Dr. Danner, to our next presentation?
Yes, Walter. So, I think that this has been a great discussion. And, all these things come together and all things work together for our general health. But even with our best efforts, sometimes, we just aren't able to get the right things in. And the thing that we found is that this COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the vulnerabilities of many unfortunate individuals in America during these trying times. And although it's tough, we do want to share what we've learned in medical science, in social science, in fitness, in the fitness and nutrition realm, because these things may be important to saving either you or your loved one. I want to talk for this next period of time about the importance of immune enhancement, immune optimization, supplementation for your general health, as well as monitoring. During this pandemic, the 100 Black men of America, have come together, to put our minds and hearts together to figure out a strategy to basically be able to suggest things that we can do on an individual or on a family or community basis to protect us, because people of color are dying at a higher rate than other populations. One, because of the very pigment of the skin may be playing a role in this. Darker pigmented people tend to have what's called vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D is the major control hormone for the entire immune system. Although we think of it as a vitamin, it is in fact a hormone produced in the skin of the body, processed in one area and acting distantly from where it is actually produced. There are two different ways that vitamin D works. One is the classical way, where we think about the kidneys and the bones and mineral metabolism, calcium, magnesium, but there's also something called the non-classic approach, or the paracrine mechanism. And so local immune cells use higher levels of vitamin D, namely vitamin D3, once it's hydroxylated in the liver to what's called 25-hydroxyvitamin D. Now it circulates in the bloodstream. This can be activated locally by immune cells to create what's called bioactive vitamin D, calcitriol, or bioactive or 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D. This binds to a receptor, a vitamin D receptor on the cell that complexes with what's called a retinoid X receptor, which is a cofactor that it binds to, and this helps it to be transported to the nucleus to what's called a transcription site. It binds with the transcription factor, and this is what regulates the immune response, which has three different phases. One is your innate or your initial response. We call this the pro-inflammatory response, and this is when you first activate the fire, activate the immune system. This is in response to the initial threat or pathogen. After the body has responded to this pathogen or contagion, whether it's a virus, a bacteria, or a fungus, then it will go to what's called the adaptive immune response, in which it will adjust to whatever that contagion. It'll consume it, phagocytize it in cells, it'll break it down, it'll present it to our T cells, our B cells, which produce our antibodies, and the T cells are like our army and our generals. The cytotoxic T cells help fight off cells that are infected or foreign cells, and the T helper cells help coordinate this whole immune response. When a person's vitamin D level is low, the issue is they cannot turn off this immune response. So you hear people developing what amounts to what we call cytokine storm, or it seems as if the body is reacting to itself. They go into a state of shock and then they arrest. So having a higher vitamin D level, a vitamin D level above 30 is considered to be sufficient. Above 40 is really where normal starts. This is what you should really be targeting, because this is something that we all can control. We all can ask our doctor to check our vitamin D level. We can all supplement. In one study in a group of nursing home patients, they gave each patient 5,000 units of vitamin D for a period of about 12 weeks in bread, so that everybody consumed the same thing for the same period. And what they found is at 5,000 units, 50% of the patients achieved a level of greater than 30, and 50% of the residents achieved a level less than 30. So in our strategy, what our recommendation is to take an initial loading dose of 50,000 units of D3, and then increase your baseline daily dose to 10,000 units a day to try to achieve a serum level of greater than 30, but of 40 to 50 to give yourself some margin and buffer. You can either do this by taking 10,000 units a day or 50,000 units weekly for prophylaxis if you're COVID-19 negative or untested. Vitamin D is also important therapeutically. If you do have the virus, having a healthy immune system outside of having a directed treatment or therapy is the best way to fight off any respiratory illness. People with higher vitamin D levels tend to have less things like colds and flu and things like that, or have less dramatic prodromal periods. Vitamin D can be given if you are infected or basically redosed on day 1, on day 4, and day 8. Or some people recommend taking vitamin D 50,000 units for 3 consecutive days and then 10,000 units a day. But the goal to achieve a higher steady state level is taking a bigger upfront dose and bumping your levels up and then maintaining them by taking a higher dose over an extended period of time. Vitamin D levels should be rechecked every probably a 3 to 6 month interval, and at the most annually as a part of your wellness check. You should have your provider to check your 25 hydroxy level, not the 125, not the bioactive level, but have them check 25 hydroxy vitamin D level if you have not done so already. In addition to doing this, taking zinc supplementation is recommended. Zinc, in a study by Dr. Robb at Colorado Health, showed that zinc slows down the replication of this coronavirus. This was published many, many years ago. Just Dr. Robb, Colorado Health. You can actually go Google this or go to PubMed and find this information. This can be administered in the form of zinc sulfate, 50 milligrams daily. Cold Ease has about 13.3 milligrams per dose. 1 tab 4 times a day gives you the same 40 to 50 milligrams. Elderberry with zinc, 1 tab twice a day will give you enough zinc to maintain more than sufficient zinc levels. But if you are infected with this virus, having a higher dose, 50 milligrams, 2 to 3 times a day for up to 10 to 14 days, may help slow down viral replication. In one study out of the Cleveland Clinic, they had 50 patients in one arm, 50 subjects in another. They were actually employees at Cleveland Clinic. You can go look up the study. People who took the Cold Ease 3 times a day during the study period versus people who didn't, it showed that they reduced their prodromal or infectious period from 7.7 days to 4.4 days. It's interesting and ironic that when they did the studies initially with remdesivir, they added zinc supplementation. And the only benefit that was really shown was in those patients who took zinc, it was a 3.3 or 3 days shorter period to getting well and being able to be discharged from the hospital. This could very well be just the effect of zinc, because in the World Health Organization study, it did not show any survival advantage or any advantage of taking remdesivir, which was used in other viral illnesses, maybe Ebola or something like that. But it hasn't really shown true efficacy against the coronavirus, although we're using it in sick patients and doing everything we can to help people get through this dreaded illness. In addition to doing these for general cellular health, you're taking a multivitamin daily. B vitamins, C vitamins help to improve cellular health. Vitamin C is a antioxidant. And so a lot of times you can actually find this in a multivitamin. Sometimes you don't. Some people recommend if you have a viral illness to take vitamin C. There's some studies to suggest that there are some advantage in improving the symptoms related to it. If you have adequate levels, as I said earlier, with multivitamins, with water-soluble vitamins, extra vitamins don't stay in the body, so it may not be helpful. If you do not have adequate levels, then supplementation is important and it will be beneficial. Another thing that you can take is something called turmeric. Turmeric is an age-old natural anti-inflammatory agent. It helps get rid of the inflammation. If somebody has an infection and they're having respiratory symptoms, a lot of pain, taking turmeric twice a day or 1,000 milligrams with or without curcumin, which is a good antioxidant, is optional and is probably beneficial to somebody who's COVID positive. But in general, we recommend taking these supplements along with eating a balanced diet, including 3 to 5 servings of each of fruit and vegetables, and getting regular aerobic exercise. This is important for your general health. For children, we recommend consulting with your pediatrician. At a minimum, you should reduce these doses by half for kids less than 14. If you're unable to take vitamin D, understand that vitamin D is produced in the skin, and you have to be in the sun between the hours of 11 and 3, between the months of April and October, when the sun is at the right angle at the earth to convert it into skin. Cholesterol goes to 7 ergo cholesterol, and then it gets processed through the body. But we drive in cars with the windshield, with a lot of time with tinted windows. This blocks the sun and prevents the convergence. So you have to be out and having direct contact of the sun with your skin during these kind of high peak seasons. It builds up stores, and then it goes down over the course of the next several months. So just understand, even if you do this, there's not really any known reaction to taking vitamin D. Taking it in extreme excesses, mega doses up in the 500 to million range may be problematic, but in the range that we're talking about are completely safe. So, that being said, in addition to immune enhancement, eating right, exercising, monitoring yourself is critical. I want to thank Stanley Campbell, Eagle Force, for providing this exciting technology called MimiRx. This is a technology which allows remote patient monitoring or self-monitoring. It allows for symptom tracking based on the CDC, symptom tracking, recommendations, as well as telehealth. It allows you to partner with your primary care physician or health provider, nurse practitioner, and allow them to monitor your persistent or consistent monitoring of your health vitals, heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, and the like. This is very important because when people develop COVID, they may develop symptoms first, they may develop a fever, but other things may creep up, such as decreased saturations, even decreased blood pressure, which means that your symptoms are progressing and you're going from infection to disease and developing a form of viral sepsis. Eagle Force has worked with companies such as Samsung and ultimately with Apple and iHealth to create a solution to help us close the digital divide by providing preloaded smartphone devices or app that can be downloaded to your own smartphone to help patients, participants, people like you and me get access to up-to-date 5G or 4G smartphone technology that can be coupled with Bluetooth-enabled infrared sensors. However, if you don't have Bluetooth-enabled sensors, then you can actually add this information in manually. But the idea is to create your continuous personal health record that you can review with your doctor to see when you're going, how you're really doing by monitoring on a consistent basis. This includes things like blood pressure monitoring, temperature monitoring. This is a thermometer, a digital thermometer. This right here is a digital oxygen saturation monitor called a pulse oximeter. It also measures your heart rate. There are digital scales. There's glucometers to measure your blood glucose, as well as even for people who have respiratory problems, spirometers to measure the size of your breath and your respiratory function. But the important thing is that these devices can be coupled with smart technologies, iPads, iPhones, and other smart devices to allow you to, one, create your own digital personal health record, your immunization record, as well as do persistent monitoring and do daily symptom checks using the CDC tracker. So for more information, please visit our website at 100blackmen.org /healthcare2-0. Use the dash instead of the point, and you can basically come to our landing page, or you can go to our homepage at 100blackmen.org and click on Healthcare 2.0. And before you go and download that, review the page contents. A lot of good information on there, and then click on Enroll Today to download the MimiRx app to get started with your persistent self-monitoring and immunization record tracking program. This is very critical because with the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, it requires a second dose. And getting the right second dose is very important to not have a reaction, to get adequate boosting of your immune responsive system, and also for its effectiveness. So understand that this is also important. You can keep track of your flu shots, your kids' immunization records, your parents' flu shot, pneumonia shot, and things like that as well, simply by having an email address and a password to log in. It's stored in the cloud, and it makes it readily available from any smart device. So again, we encourage you really to take advantage of this opportunity provided by Eagle Force. And we want to thank Mr. Stanley Campbell, along with our chair, Mr. Tommy Dorch, for adopting this technology. And I want to thank the Health and Wellness Chair, Dr. Mark Alexander, who really had this vision when we went to a trip in Montgomery to talk about the health of our organization, the health of the country, and what can we do. And thank Mr. Campbell for answering the call by providing this exciting technology. This is a QR code that you can go to our site, and you can download this by just holding your camera over this app. If it's a Google, if it's an Android, hold it over the Google Play. If it's Apple or iPhone, just hold it over the Apple icon, and then simply download it to your smart device. And then you have all this power of supercomputing right at your fingertip.
All right.
And so I want to pass this off to Mr. Stewart and have him.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Danner. Again, we want to have, we're at the top of the hour. We're at 1:15. So we got, roughly about 15 minutes. So before we go into that, because again, it's an exchange of conversation. Renee Ladande, I'm a nurse in a COVID unit. All of our patients receive vitamin D, 10,000 units daily, zinc, 220 milligrams daily, vitamin C, 5,000 milligrams of buffered powder. So kind of what Dr. Danner was saying, but I guess that's a different concoction for COVID-19 patients. Is that correct, Dr. Danner?
Yeah, that is correct. And the thing is, as I was saying earlier, studies show that having excessive doses of vitamin C may not be beneficial. So how much above the recommended level that's going to be beneficial is a very hard thing to determine. It may not hurt, so because the body excretes it. The only thing I recommend in general, if you go look up data on vitamin B or B complex vitamin, which is what multivitamins contain, is important for cellular health. And so I would consider adding that. But vitamin C is a powerful antioxidant. We choose to use turmeric, but some people use elderberry. But all of them have similar efficacy, because when you actually are attacking a cell with, say, an immune cell, a phagocyte, a macrophage, or a neutrophil, it's something called oxygen burst. It releases free radicals, reactive oxygen species that can harm normal cells. These antioxidants help decrease the injury due to these oxygen free radicals. And so that's why this is important. But James.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, James. So James is going to talk about his testimonies on the supplementation with biometric devices. So James, you got the floor, buddy. Are you muted, James?
You are.
Unmute yourself, James. Hit the.
There you go. I'll try to do this real quickly because most of this Dr. Danner did cover himself. One of the things that we were blessed to get from the 100 Black Men of America was a set of monitor devices that we could actually use on the men in our organization. And one of the things that had been pushed, which is really important, and it's important for everyone out there to understand and try and do, is that you need to monitor your blood pressure daily. You need to look at your weight at least 2 or 3 times a week. You should look at your temperature, especially if you're feeling bad or feel like you're having some type of symptom. You also should keep up with your heart rate, and I think that should be done on a daily basis. All of these things that we're talking about kind of fold into one another, because the preventions are the exercise, the vitamins, and the diet, along with the wearing your face mask. Are you showing an example of that? And along with wearing your face mask. And one of the things I wanted to mention on this about face masks is for those people who have beards, the face mask that you put on, I would not wear the standard face mask to cover your face, because that could be something that doesn't really protect you well because of your beard. But there is something out there that they've done a study on that's called the neck gaiter face mask, the one that covers your nose and comes down to your neck, that you could wear if you had a beard. They'd be much better in terms of protecting you in many, many ways. Now, to go back to blood pressure, weight, and temperature, if Dr. Danner would hold that device up again for the temperature device. And this is an electronic device where you don't even have to touch your skin. You just go across your forehead or some portion of your body, and this device will pick up your temperature. If you got a device like this or can get hold of one, they would be great to use. Standard weights should be anything that you can find at the store that meets the grade or recommendations. Your blood pressure, and here's a weight scale that Dr. Dan is holding up. I should have hired him to be my man right here. But yeah, these are devices that we're using right now for our weight and for our blood pressure. We also have the heart rate device that should be in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There, this is your oxygen saturation device that Dr. Denner's got in his hand right now. And if you can buy these at any drugstore at any time to actually measure your oxygen saturation, you need to understand that oxygen saturation should always be between 95 and 100% at all times. If it gets much lower than that, you got problems. You see how he's got it on his finger? You can do that. You have to make sure that the sensor is on the inside of your finger and not on the outside of it, on what would be your nail to get your temperature good. All of these devices are available to you, and you can get them, again, at any store. If you can get them, use them, because they will help save your lives.
That's great.
Hey, James, Walter, one thing I would say, that just from a medical standpoint, just to correct, that the pulse oximeter, actually the sensor goes over the nail bed, and that's where it's been measured at. So just because that's a very critical point, I want to make sure everybody understands that you actually have to put the sensor part with the numbers over the nail bed, and that's where this infrared technology is actually bouncing off of to measure the percentage of saturation of oxygen in your blood, because COVID is a respiratory disease and it affects the ability to oxygenate. So when this number is going down to less than 90%, less than 92, and there's one study that shows that in Black people, dark-skinned people, when it's 92 to 96%, that's when people may need to be on oxygen and not waiting to more extreme levels. So just understand that if you're home and your sats are dropping less than 94% and staying there is abnormal, take some deep breaths, cough, see if it comes back. If your sats won't come back up above 92 with effort, then this actually is a medical problem that needs medical attention. Seek your doctor or healthcare provider. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, James.
And thank you, Dr. Danner, for that correction.
Yeah, thank you, James. We're at the bottom of the hour here. We're going to have several questions. Thank you for that time. I know it's been a quick session. There's a lot of information. Whoever wants to take us on the panel, this is an open discussion now. This is the point where we can just take questions. This is Dorothy Cook. Thank you, Dorothy, for your question. Is there a diet or recommended foods or exercise for persons with low sugar diabetes? Who wants to take that one? Anyone?
I think that I'll take it just because it's a medical question and just some general recommendations, which always starts with working with the diabetic education and your primary care physician is very essential. But having a diabetic diet, no sugar added, although sugar substitutes are important, I think that should be done in moderation. So eating a balanced diet, understanding what your calorie intake is. They have you on a 1,800 calorie, a 1,500 calorie, a 2,000 calorie diet. Trying to stay within those parameters is important. Staying away from simple sugars. Try to eat balanced meals with meat. If you're vegetarian, then say soy-based proteins, vegetables, and fruit. And practicing moderation is the key. But try to stay away from processed things that you have to actually by shopping, as some people will say, around the periphery of the store instead of the center aisles, is how you should basically plan your diet. But you should meal plan as opposed to just eating random or processed things out of bags and cans that have high salt in them. You should really meal plan and prepare your diet.
Excellent. Dorothy, I hope that answered your question. Renee has another one. It's recommended that individuals with lupus and other autoimmune diseases receive the vaccine. Many of those people have an exaggerated response in the vaccine and always react negatively. What is the official recommendation? Who wants to respond? Is that you again, Dr. Dana? Who wants to respond to that with lupus patients?
I think that, again, I hate to keep deferring to your individual doctor, but it's really important that you do this in the context of the doctor as opposed to going to, say, for instance, CVS or Walgreens or somewhere outside of medical oversight. Anybody can have a reaction. People who may be more hypersensitive may be a slightly more prone, but this is not statistically significant. These are very rare and infrequent events. In the vaccine study, out of 41,000, there were no reactions greater than grade 3, which is moderate symptoms. And most of the time, these reactions are what we call idiosyncratic, meaning nobody can predict them. So the general recommendation is to do this under medical guidance. And if you are more sensitive, maybe taking things like Benadryl. If you have some condition, which, like say somebody with a peanut allergy may have an EpiPen, then you may have to consider this. But the bottom line is that if you know you are someone which fits into a higher risk category, seeking medical attention and doing it under a protocol is probably the best way to approach and answer this question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have another one from Shanna. If I have a pre-existing condition, where can I go to find out what phase or any specific condition will be allowed to receive the vaccine? Who could take that one? Dr. Dan is answering a lot of them, but maybe that's the person to answer. So who else? Anyone else wants to reply? James or Cal? Or
I think that's
go ahead, James.
Question again.
Well, I think that if a person has a pre-existing medical condition, they should be under medical oversight. And the general recommendation, say, for instance, if I say people with hypertension qualify, it would be important to, again, see your doctor, see your healthcare provider to understand your own individual risk. Risks are very individual. It's hard to make these generalizations. So the best thing to do is, as Kalunda, Mr. Anderson said earlier, some you can find on Dr. Google, educate yourself, and then engage in a intellectual conversation with your healthcare provider and ask them specifically. Most of the time, they will tell you this in general, but this is the time to really press it as we become health informed. This is what Healthcare 2.0 is about, empowering you to go and engage in these kind of conversations and have these discussions, because this is what you pay for when you come to the healthcare provider. You need to own your own health. This is the time that we need to really take this to heart.
Awesome. We have another from Stephanie. Will this presentation be available to access later? Dr. Danner, do you want to?
Yes, there's a great question, Stephanie, and it's going to be available if you go to our website, www.100blackmen.org. You should be able to find it there. But I will say, if you go to Radio 1, it's going to be flashing at the bottom of the screen on Radio 1's, Urban One's website. There also will be a link to this presentation. But if you go to 100blackmen.org, Healthcare 2.0, or just 100blackmen.org and check out our Facebook page, this information should be available. And hopefully, again, something we said has impacted someone, educated, informed someone, and that you found this information to be useful. So we really do appreciate each and everyone who's taken the time out of their busy schedules to join us this evening. I'm going to turn it back over to Walter and see if there's other questions.
Yeah, I think we're going to close this out. I'd like to get some final comments from all the panelists. I hope everyone out there has gained a lot. Thank you all for your participation on the panel. We appreciate that because, as I always say to Dr. Danner and company, what you measure is what you improve. And it all goes back to a baseline, knowing your PSA, knowing your systolic, diastolic pressure, your blood pressure, knowing, where you are. Where's your health? Would you give yourself an A, B, or C? I think this whole crux here with the 100 Black Men of America, it's to say, let's level set. Let's see where we are in terms of COVID, in our general fitness, our age demographics. Where are we? Our cardiovascular endurance, as Cal's shaking his head. When you get over 50, take it from me, a wise old man, your body starts to break down naturally. So how do you prolong that? We are tired of rushing members of our chapter to the hospital because of high blood pressure. So the wake-up call for everybody out there, no matter if you're 35 or whether you're 55 or 65, start to track your health. So what I'd like to do is go round robin and just have a closing statement. Cal, what is your closing statement of today's session? And thank you for your participation, Cal.
Hey, you're welcome. My closing statement is exactly what you said. Take personal initiative on your health. Do your research. Come up with a program that works for you, depending on your goals, and stay at it. Never never falter, never give up on those goals. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you for your passion, and you're doing some good work down there in Florida. Thank you, Cal. All right, James from Tulsa, my good buddy in Tulsa, man. So what's your final thoughts, my friend?
Well, my final thoughts is this: prevention is better than getting disease and having to take a shot. Prevention is what your goal should always be. And when they tell you to wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from people, do that. Okay, at all times. That's whether you avoid crowds, avoid poor ventilated areas, wash your hands, do the things necessary to keep yourself healthy. That's what I would say in my last statement.
Well, thank you for doing what you're doing in Tulsa. We appreciate you, Guy, and thank you for your leadership, James.
Thank you.
All right, Donna, what's your perspective, Donna? What's your final thoughts?
Hi,
You muted yourself. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad everyone enjoyed the panelists. Was awesome job. Really good job. Stay active. Stay active is what you need to do, especially if you're working from home. Get up, get some movements going on at least every 2 hours or so. Just get up and do something, okay? And what's more importantly is please understand, food is medicine, okay? So you can be your own doctor. Thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Anna. Thank you, team. Thank you, Walter. Great job.
Thank you, Donna. Dr. Danner, your final thoughts.
So, what I'd like to do is really just reiterate what everyone has said. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Pfizer and the Pfizer Foundation, who's really supported us throughout this to support the 100 Black Men. I want to thank the 100 Black Men leadership, Tommy Dorch, Dr. Mark Alexander, and the executive board who's really been behind the Health and Wellness Committee. I want to thank the Morehouse School of Medicine, Dr. Montgomery Rice, Valerie Montgomery Rice, as well as Dr. Dominic Mack, who is the PI, along with Mr. Daniel Dawes, for this National COVID Resiliency Network. I want to thank Mr. Stanley Campbell, as I said earlier, for providing us with the assistance of Eagle Force and the MimiRx platform and technology. And I want to thank all our distinguished panelists. And I want to thank our moderator, but I also want to thank our partners at Radio One. A special shout out to Dwayne Whitaker and Andre Tillman, who worked diligently. So if you guys are listening, I want to applaud them for the effort, if this means anything. And I want to thank the audience. This is a very critical time. It's a very serious time in our conference. We're going through pandemic. We're going through civil unrest, economic, challenges. But the important take-home message, we will get through this. We are Americans. We will overcome, and we are up for the challenge. So thank you, Walter. And for the world, we will get through this together. So God bless you all. Jesus said it like this: men ought to always pray and don't lose heart. So pray without ceasing. Let's continue to pray together. Let's stick together on this. Love conquers all. Love overcomes hate. And we're going to do this. We shall overcome. Thank you, Walter.
Dr. Danner. On behalf of the 100 Black Men of America, I want to say thank you all. Thank you, viewers and listeners, Radio One. And this is the second version. We have 2 more of these coming up. We'll have different topics coming up. And I think we're going to do it, Dr. Danner, once a month, the next several months. So please stay on the lookout. And again,
March 17th, Walter.
March 17th. There we go.
The next one is in June. So
all right. All right.
Hey, Walter, also please mention, our fitness challenge that we're going to.
Yep. We are actually launching a national fitness challenge with the 100 Black Men of America in conjunction with Apple. A lot of things are in store that goes back to monitoring your health. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to have prizes and adherence compliance awards. Again, it's the consistency. If anything, your takeaway today is consistency. It's not starting something and stopping. It's get a baseline, find out where you are, rate your health, and then really start to build your immune system and build your health, and do it for your family. This Intuitive Healthcare 2.0, when you go to 100blackmen.org and you hit the Healthcare 2.0, it is a great way to get a baseline for your family. So go ahead and register on that website. It's a lot of data. We want to say thank you. And we're going to continue to improve Black health in America. We're going to make a difference. We're going to change the paradigm shift for Black America. Thank you all, and have a great holiday. Be safe out there. God bless America. Thank you very much on behalf of 100 Black Men of America. Bye for now.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.